There's 3 types of empathy. This is Daniel Goleman. This isn't me. I'm just giving you his definitions. There's the cognitive, social, and empathic concern. So what these are is cognitive. So imagine, forget empathy for a second. Talk about your mind. Are you a logical enough person that you could appreciate that person's perspective? That's cognitive empathy. I'm really strong in this. Okay, I can intercept my emotions. I could put myself in your shoes. And while I absolutely cannot process the world the way none of us can do that, right? There's no way. I wish I could strike the words from the English or any language when somebody says, I know exactly how you feel. No, that's impossible. You cannot know exactly how I feel. Because even if we both went through brutal divorces and we were married to men of the same age for the same amount of time and we have the same number of kids and we live in houses next door to each other, you still can't know exactly how I feel because I process everything that happens to me based on my upbringing, my belief template, the way this thing happens to work from some DNA perspective, and a number of other things. But can I truly try to gain perspective to imagine what you would feel like? That's cognitive, being logical enough that you could try to put yourself in the other person's shoes just to give yourself a different way of thinking about the situation. Then there's social. I'm less good at this. This is about feeling. Like I feel for you. Not like, oh, geez, I can understand that, but I actually am having a reaction, okay? Like a physical reaction from a feelings perspective. And then empathic concern is social and active, meaning I actually feel for you, and now I'm compelled to do something. I am moved to help you, okay? So I have used cognitive empathy to become more of these others, but recognizing I will never know exactly how somebody will ever feel, I don't even try. I go from 1 to 3. That's how I operate. So it's really 1 and kind of the tail of 3 because I know me. I have never been one to get physical reactions, feeling reactions to somebody else's situation. I get the, oh my God, that's awful or whatever, or that's terrible. But I'm more about, how can I help you? I know that sucks, right? Kind of thing. And so there's 3 different kinds. Now, one of the things that I will tell you is that when I tried to develop empathy and become more empathetic, because I think it's like a superpower if you can be this way, because virtually every job in the world, the more empathetic you can be, automatically the better you are at it. And so what I tell people is there's kind of 3 steps to building your empathy. And if you, much like willpower, if you could do this all the time, you're going to become more empathetic. It's going to become more natural. Anticipate the situation. What might they be going through? What could happen? What might they have gone through? What if they had a bad day, right? Practice it during the interaction, the communication, and then reflecting on what happened. Now, you can do this 1-to-1. My wife walks in the door at 4:45 daily. I have no idea what kind of day she had. I don't know if she's coming in and, the kids were monsters, or whether she's coming in and she had an easy breezy day. I don't know if a parent called and screamed. I don't know if somebody committed suicide. I don't like the stuff that comes home with her. I can't get over. So I also go through a blitz of a day every day. There's not one day. I don't have any easy days. That's it. That's okay. That's my life. I choose this way. So my day is like full tilt all day long. So I need to make sure that when she's coming in, I'm anticipating what might have happened. And this isn't a contest about whose day was tougher, worse, or whatever, right? And then when we talk, I want to make sure that I have absolutely no idea how she's able to sit and teach those kids all day, because I would want to shoot myself. So I have to imagine what that would be like. And then I want to reflect it. Did I actually act properly? Was I empathetic? Now, when I do it on a grander scale, and I think I talked about this in the package, I certainly talked about this in the book, is every time I do a show like this, it's like every Thursday, if you come to the live office hour shows, or maybe you've seen the recordings, I come and I teach and I take your questions. And before every show, I do one thing for 5 minutes. I sit, I relax. I sit in the chairs back there, one of the two of them, or the love seat. And I say, God brought these people to me at this time in their life, right? They need my help. I don't know what you've all been through, but one thing I know for sure is you don't know what I know, because if you knew what I know, you wouldn't need to come and listen to me talk on a Thursday, right? So you obviously need my help. Not to mention, if you're spending your minutes with me, you have faith that I have something to offer you. So I want to make sure that I remember that as I'm teaching you, and I'm trying to be compassionate and sensitive to your situations, even though I could never understand fully what you're going through. I just can't, right? Even if I lost a job or hated my boss or hated my life or didn't make enough money or whatever it was. So it doesn't matter because I process it differently. And the other thing is, then as I'm going through the session, each time I'm making a point or I'm answering a question, I want to make sure that I am practicing empathy. Am I being kind? They're asking me a question. I probably just got that question last week and the week before, right? You all have similar problems. There's a finite number of problems. I'm going to answer them over and over. I've been doing this for more than 6 years on a weekly basis, meaning that the live show's been going on for longer than 6 years. There's only so many questions you can ask me. Okay, but these people might not have seen my 80,000 hours of videos. They might have just found me this morning. So I go through, I remind myself all this. Then I practice it. Then when we're done, I watch every show, usually multiple times, and I try to watch it with different hats on and different ears. Did I teach them what I was supposed to teach them? Did I teach it as fast as I could? Did I use the examples that were the best analogies? Was I using a bad example for the person who asked it and they give me the information? Was I kind? What if I didn't know what they know? I try to watch it from different angles so that, number one, I'm evaluating me and my teaching skills. But number two, I'm also looking, was I empathetic? So these are kinds of things that you could do. If you're going to go in a meeting, a sensitive meeting with a client who you know is going to yell at you, can you take yourself out of defense mode and just try to think about, well, what would it be like if I was that client? And what if I was losing money because we made a hiccup or whatever kind of thing? So I'm going to give you a little story. I know I absolutely have never told this story before. So going back to the Linda, my wife situation. So I met Linda in November of 2013, on Kara's birthday, in fact, and to total coincidence. So I met Linda and we started dating and we hit it off, and she was living quite far from me, maybe like 50 minutes on a good day. And so we were dating, and it was the winter time. So she was in her school session, which runs from August to May. And around the spring, she decides, I think I would like to sell my house and I will move closer to you. And my son, he's likely going to go away to college in the fall. So this will be easier. I could sell my house. I can move closer to you. Things are going great. Now we're only a few months into the relationship. So at this point, she puts her house on the market and the thing sells in like a weekend. And now there's still quite a couple of months of the school left. And so she decides she's going to stay with a friend of hers near her school. That way, during the week, it's easy for her to get to school just a few minutes away. But she's got 2 dogs. The other woman, her friend, had a couple dogs as well. But it all worked out very friendly, and I was thankful for the fact that she had a place to stay. So when the school year was up, I said to her, okay, it's still relatively new in our relationship, but why don't you move in with me? And we need to talk up front, because if you move in May and in September, you decide you want to get a place closer to school, I want to make sure that we're going in with this where we're keeping a great momentum with the relationship. I don't want that to be perceived or construed as a setback. So we're talking through all this, and so we decide that she's going to move in with me. Okay, now the relationship is, I don't know, December, January, February, March, April, May, 6 months in. She moves in. And I'm thinking to myself, let's see, I'm a single man who's never lived with anybody. I'm 47 or 8 or whatever I was at the time, and I live in a 1,700 square foot condo that's designed and laid out beautifully, but to my taste. The second bedroom is my office. Here she's going to come in, no school, no work, right? Off for the summer, and she's going to have feet surgery, both feet, a week after she moves in with me, and she's going to be laid up on the couch for 2 weeks. The 2 dogs and me working. Okay, can you at least recognize, show of hands, how many of you are laughing your faces off because you're like, what an idiot? No, I'm just kidding. So I want you to imagine this, okay? I'm 48. Okay, first time somebody's going to come in. I work there. She's there all day. I'm on the phone. I'm trying to think about changing the business. I got dogs yapping, barking, the elevator's like anytime there's an ant that farts, my dogs bark. Okay, so we talked through all this for about 2-3 weeks before she moved in. The only things that I would think about when I had moments of time would be, what would that be like to be her? To move into my place, which isn't hers, with somebody she only knows 180 days. She's got to drive. She will end up driving an hour each way. She won't be anywhere near her friends. She's going to be laid on the couch for 2 weeks. I mean, this is a pretty rough situation. And so I kept thinking about all that, this step in the process. All of this, what would this be like to be her? To anticipate what her potential reactions could be and how this would go. And when I'm working, I'm focused. I don't want to be interrupted, kind of thing, right? So I'm like laser focused, as you can imagine. She moves in, and I'm not exaggerating for effect. I did not have one little pain, not one. Nothing bothered me because I was constantly concerned about her well-being, and to the point where she'd been in the condo about 3 weeks, and after she was back up on her feet, she and my mom were driving somewhere on a Sunday morning. They were going somewhere together. And my mom says to her, so, how you and Andy getting along in the condo? And Linda says to her, oh my God, it's great. I can't believe how easy it is to live with him. And my mom's like, oh. It's like, what? She's like, well, Andy's never lived with anybody. So I'm just so happy to, that it's working out. But I'm not kidding you. And if she was sitting right here, she would tell you that what I just described was exactly what happened. And so wait, I'm telling you the story because it's a funny, cute story, but it is an illustration of it doesn't matter what your situation is. You can figure out a way to be empathetic and really put yourself in the other people's shoes and go through this process and simulate it before it happens. Because if you simulate it before it happens, it's so much easier when it actually happens. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to have a bad day, and I've watched a lot of my shows, and I'm a really, really hard grader of myself. And there's some things that I saw in the last 6 months here or there that I was not happy with, the way I taught or the way I packaged it or what I said or how I said it or the speed I said it with or the tone I said it in. And I'm really, really constantly evaluating it. So I want you to understand that this affects everything in your life. You either are empathetic or you're not. So it's an all the time kind of thing. You either have willpower or you don't. You can either focus or you can't. So these 3 lessons all go together, in my opinion. If you need to be focused, you can't do anything and nothing registers. And what do I always say about experience? Experience is not what's happened to you. It's the meaning you attach to what's happened to you. But in order to be able to gain the benefits of the experience as you're going through it, you need to be present. And in order to be present, you need to be able to focus. The more self-aware you are, and the more congruent the think, say, do is, the better the time you'll have, the less stress you'll have, and the more empathetic that you can become. Well, just generally the better person you are. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover teaching wise.